Blessings and peace be upon all of you, and a warm welcome to all my new subscribers. May you continue to find this content useful. And if you're new here, it would mean so much to me if you would subscribe, comment, like, share all the fireworks that make my content accessible to more public spaces, and also helps me achieve my personal goal of achieving 1,000 subscribers on this platform by the end of this month. And please do share this content with your family and your friends and your partners, especially if you are feeling these transits intensely or intimately. And when you send it, it may help them understand also the themes that you're going through, and also for you to understand what they're going through too. Believe me, they'll thank you later. My name is Venus. I'm a professional astrologer and relationship therapist, alchemist, and teacher of the mysteries. And yes, it is my name. So happens to be my job as well. So let's dive right in. Before we even look at the sky, I want to preface this transit of Sun in Aries, exact square Jupiter in Cancer, with the bigger underlying story going on here. And it started in 1971 when Pluto entered Libra. That generation that was born in 1971 up till 1984 began one of the most radical transformations in human history, about something far more intimate than just something political or economic. It's the very architecture of relationships and relating. What is love supposed to look like? What does commitment mean? Who holds the power in partnership? What do we actually owe each other? All these questions and beyond have been in our mental space ever since then. Pluto and Libra tore up the old contracts and handed the pen to the generation born between 1971 and 1984. They were born into this question. They grew up watching the old model crack. Divorce rates climbing, gender roles shifting, even the meaning of gender and sexuality has changed completely. And the nuclear family is being interrogated from every angle, psychologically, economically, and politically. And here is the thing about Pluto. It doesn't renovate, it just demolishes. It goes all the way to the root and kills what's dead, and trusts that something new will grow. But that process is not fast, and it is not painless. The Pluto and Libra generation has spent their entire lives trying to build new relationship structures with tools inherited from a world that no longer exists. They were handed a demolished building and told to make a home. The divorce rates and statistics that everyone point to as evidence that relationships are failing are actually evidence of something far more radical happening. People are refusing to stay in relationships that don't honor the new values. Pluto and Libra installed new values, but how they are emerging is another story. The pain isn't proof that love is broken. It's proof that an entire civilization is in the middle of rewriting one of its most fundamental contracts, and nobody has finished writing the new rules yet. That unfinished rewriting is the backdrop of everything happening in today's sky. When we look at Venus exhausted from her square with Pluto ordeal, and we look at Eris conjuncting Chiron in Aries, also this wound around not being chosen. And when we look at Neptune dissolving the sense of self and relationships altogether, all of it is happening inside the larger Pluto and Libra story. The obsession, the intensity, the too much too fast. These aren't just personal, they're generational. We are a species that is genuinely confused about how to love because the old instructions are burned and the new ones aren't written yet. We don't even know what love is. So we've just come out of a full moon in Libra. So relational conversations are still hot. And Venus is still squaring Pluto. So our value systems around love and desire and self-care are growing through a tremendous transformation. And all this time, Pluto is in Aquarius, trining the Pluto in Libra generation placements. And therefore, our relationships right now are undergoing this truly remarkable revolution. The Sun in Aries is squaring Jupiter in Cancer, and this is the centerpiece of this transit. In relationships, this is the ego's need for validation crashing into emotional inflation. Someone wants to be chosen. loudly and completely and immediately. But Jupiter in Cancer doesn't want just love. It wants to be mothered by love, held by it, felt by it, healed by it. The square creates friction because Aries doesn't want to be that vulnerable, and Cancer doesn't want to be that exposed. So what comes out is excess. Too much feelings, too much intensity, too much meaning placed on something that might just be a Tuesday. The moon in Scorpio underneath all of this is not helping, or perhaps it is. Scorpio moons don't do casual, they go deep. They're already scanning for betrayal, already murder hungry, already reading into everything. And combined with this Jupiter inflation, this is the sky of, we've been talking for 3 days and I feel like I've known you forever, which might be true or it might not. Let's not forget, Neptune is in Aries. This is a major shift that's still raw and disorienting. Neptune in Aries dissolves the boundaries of the self, not the emotions. So the confusion here isn't, I don't know how I feel. It's, I don't know who I am in this dynamic. And this is dangerous. People are shapeshifting to fit what they think the other person needs. Identity is porous. The longing is deeply personal. It's not just about wanting love. It's about wanting love to tell you who you are. It's about losing yourself in relationships that perhaps don't necessarily serve you. After all, Neptune is at 2 degrees Aries in a brand new sign that nobody has their footing in. Now, Venus is still in Taurus at 7 degrees, and she's just come out fresh from her square off with Pluto, but she's still squaring it. And that's been a death and rebirth of her values, of self-worth, of what we're willing to accept in love. She's changed, and she's not the same Venus she was 2 weeks ago. Now, at 7 degrees Taurus, she's trining the south node at 8 degrees Virgo and sextiling the north node at 8 degrees Pisces, which means she's beginning to choose between the familiar, the south node in Virgo, the critical, self-sufficient, independent, hyper-independent, I don't need anyone pattern, and the growth edge, the north node in Pisces, the surrender, the trust, dissolving into something bigger than yourself. But also, Pisces is where she's enthroned. She's the queen. She doesn't accept anything less than brilliant. This Venus is standing at a crossroads, utterly exhausted from the Pluto ordeal. The trine to the south node is seductive. It feels easy to go back to old habits, old standards and old walls. But the sextile to the north node is the invitation that requires a choice. Eris conjunct Chiron at 25 degrees Aries is the wound that won't stay quiet. Eris is the goddess of discord, specifically the discord that comes from being excluded or overlooked or not chosen. Next to Chiron, the wounded healer, the conjunction says, somewhere in this person's relational history, there is a deep wound around not being seen, not being picked, not being enough. And that wound is active on this day, is driving behavior, the obsession, the intensity, the too much too fast, the attachment. A lot of it is Eris, Chiron talking, not the heart. When Neptune, freshly in Aries, sitting not far away, that wound is especially porous and undefended right now. So what's Mars doing? Mars is at 26 degrees of Pisces, sextiling Uranus at 28 degrees of Taurus, both very critical degrees, and at a 2-degree orb, which adds an electric, impulsive charge. Mars is this late in Pisces is already restless, already feeling the pull of Aries. It wants to act, but is still swimming. The sextile to Uranus means the actions that do happen feel electrifying and inevitable in the moment. Texts get sent, confessions get made, moves get made. It bypasses the rational mind completely. And the 28 degrees of Uranus adds an urgency. Something about this impulse feels like now or never. And Mercury is at 18 degrees of Pisces, trining but separating Jupiter in Cancer. So the big conversations have already happened. The I feel like you already understand me talks peaked a day or 2 ago. Also, equally, the talks around, I thought we talked about this already. Why do we have to keep repeating ourselves and moving around in circles? Now, Mercury is drifting, and what's left is the feeling without words to justify it. And in Pisces, Mercury isn't precise anyway. Things were felt more than said, implied more than directly stated, which means both people might have heard completely different things. So now let's explore what this means for your sun, moon, and rising. Aries rising. The sun is in your first house, squaring Jupiter in your fourth. The conflict today is between the face you show in the world and what's actually going on at home, in your roots, in your body, in your inherited patterns around love. Something private is louder than usual. And Neptune just landed in your first house too. You don't know who you are in this dynamic already. And because you're Aries rising, not knowing is the most uncomfortable feeling there is. Watch what you do with that discomfort. Eris and Chiron are also sitting right on your ascendant. The wound around not being chosen is wearing your face today. Now, here's a shadow question for you that you could journal around. Are you pursuing this person, or are you running from the fear of not being wanted or chosen? Taurus rising. Venus, your ruler, is in your first house, but she just came out of a Pluto square and willing to accept is shifting. You might not have words for it yet, but it is shifting. The sun is squaring Jupiter from your 12th to your 3rd. What you're not saying is bigger than what you are. There are feelings living in the hidden corners of your psyche right now that haven't made it to any conversation yet. Mars in your 11th sextile Uranus is in your first. Someone in your wider circles is suddenly electric to you. Mars is in your 11th house, sextiling Uranus in your first. Someone in your wider circles is suddenly electric to you. Or a friendship is crossing a line fast. Here's the shadow question for you. What have you decided you don't deserve? And where did that decision come from? Gemini risings. The sun is in your 11th house, squaring Jupiter in your 2nd. You're putting enormous energy into your social world, your friendships, and your community. But Jupiter in your 2nd is asking what any of it is actually worth to you. Are you spreading yourself across many connections to avoid going deep with one? Mercury, your ruler, is at 18 degrees of Pisces in your 10th house. Your public image and your reputation are in the spotlight right now. The conversations that matter most right now aren't personal. They're about how you're perceived. And with Mercury separating from Jupiter, something that was said publicly or professionally is still echoing. Neptune in your 11th house is dissolving the boundaries of friendship and romance. Someone you thought was just a friend might not be just a friend. And shadow question here is, are you using wit and availability to keep people close while keeping them at a safe distance? Cancer risings. Jupiter is in your first house, and the sun is squaring it from Aries, from the 10th house. You are feeling everything in full volume. Your emotional needs are expanded and louder and harder to contain. And there's tension between that private emotional world and your public life, and your career and your reputation. Something is pulling you in two different directions. The moon in Scorpio is in your 5th house of romance and pleasure and creativity and joy. This is intense, all or nothing romantic energy. If you're dating someone, this feels fated. If you're not, it feels like longing with nowhere to go. If you are in a relationship, these are the themes that you're dealing with. Venus in your 11th just survived Pluto, a friendship that became something more, or something that was more that needs to go back to being a friendship. The line is blurred. Here's your shadow question. Are you looking for a partner or a safe place to land? And do you know the difference? Leo risings. The sun, your ruler, is in your 9th house, squaring Jupiter in your 12th. The tension today is between your need to expand, explore, and be seen as someone with vision and direction, and something buried in your unconscious that keeps pulling you back. Old relationship karma is loud in the hidden 12th house. Moon in Scorpio in your 4th, the home, the private world, the roots, whatever is happening relationally today has deep family fingerprints on it. The pattern is older than you think, possibly older than you. Eris and Chiron in your 9th, the wound around your beliefs about love. What did you decide love was supposed to look like? And where did that story come from? Your shadow question is, what belief about love are you still living that you inherited rather than chose? Virgo risings. The South Node in your first house and Venus is trining it from your ninth. The pull towards old patterns is strong today, but it also could be that it's coming up for you to heal. Your standards, your self-sufficiency, your perfectionism, and I'm fine alone mantra, all of it is being seduced back into place. But the North Node is in your seventh house of partnership. The growth is in the direction of the other person, of trust, of letting someone in without the checklist. With the sun is in the eighth house, squaring Jupiter in your 11th. Intensity is shared resources, shared depths and intimacy, crashing into your social world. Something that was private might not be so private after all. Your shadow question is your discernment protecting you, or is it just a more sophisticated word for fear? Libra risings. Pluto in your fifth house of romance at 5 degrees Aquarius has been there long enough now that you know what it's doing. It's transforming what you think pleasure, romance, and desire mean. But Venus, your ruler, just squared Pluto from your eighth house. Something in your intimate life and your shared finances and your deepest bonds just went through a death and rebirth. You're still processing. With the sun in the seventh, squaring Jupiter in your 10th, your partnership sector is activated, but there's friction with your public life. Your ambitions and your reputation are also at friction. A relationship is asking something of you that conflicts with where you're trying to go. Your shadow question here is, what are you trying to keep balanced that actually needs to break open? Scorpio risings. The moon is in your first house, so you are in the emotional weather today. Everything is felt in your body today and in the room, in the silences. You're reading every signal and probably reading some of them wrong because the moon in Scorpio in the first amplifies everything. The sun in your sixth squaring Jupiter in your ninth, the daily rhythms of your relationship and so on, and the small things, are all in friction with a bigger question about what you believe love is supposed to be. Philosophy is clashing with the dishes in the sink. Neptune is in your sixth, dissolving the edges of your daily life. Who is responsible for what? Where do your needs end and theirs begin? Nothing feels clearly defined right now. So your question is, what are you sensing about this situation that you're not letting yourself say out loud? Sagittarius risings. Jupiter, your ruler, is in your eighth house, expanded, inflated, in the house of sex and death and transformation and other people's resources. Whatever you're feeling relationally right now is going deep and is going fast. The eighth house doesn't do surface level. And the sun in your fifth squaring Jupiter in your eighth, there's a tension between the joy, the play, the romance of the fifth house, and the intensity, the merging, the power dynamics of the eighth. You want it to feel light. It doesn't. Mars in your fourth, sextiling Uranus in your sixth, something at home is restless and electric. A domestic situation is shifting unexpectedly. Your shadow question is, are you going deep because it's real, or because deep feels more exciting than consistency? Capricorn risings. Saturn, your ruler, is in your third house, the house of communication, of how you say things, of the conversations you have and the ones you avoid. Something needs to be said that hasn't been said yet. The sun in your fourth is squaring Jupiter in your seventh, your private world, your home, and your emotional foundations in direct tension with your partnership sector. Jupiter is expanding your seventh house, which means relationships asking for more than you're currently giving, or more than you're able or comfortable to give. Venus in your fifth house just came out of a Pluto square. Romance was put through the fire recently. What survived, that is real. Your shadow question is, what would you say to this person if you weren't trying to manage how they see you? Aquarius risings. Pluto is in your first house of growth and identity at 5 degrees. You've only gone through a year of transformation, and your entire identity is already unrecognizable. And who you are in relationship right now is very different to who you were 5 years ago, and will continue to be different in the next 5 years. You are mid-trans metamorphosis. In fact, you're just at the beginning. And the sun is in your third, squaring Jupiter in your sixth. The way you communicate in love, the words you use, the stories you tell yourself about relationships is in friction with the daily reality of what those relationships actually look like up close. Now, Uranus is in your fourth house, disrupting home and roots. What you thought was stable at home might not be. And your shadow question is, are you attracted to this person or to the idea of what they represent for the future version of you? Pisces rising. The North Node is in your first house at 8 degrees Pisces. This is your moment. The universe has been pointing at you for this entire nodal cycle and saying, this is your growth edge. Surrender, trust, dissolve into something bigger. But Neptune moved out of your first house and into your second. So the fog around your identity is shifting into your values, your money, your self-worth. What do you actually value now that you can see yourself more clearly? The sun is in your second house, squaring Jupiter in your fifth. Tension between your resources, your worth, what you have to offer, and the joy and the romance and the creative expression of the fifth. Are you holding back in love because you don't feel like enough? Mercury in your first at 18 degrees Pisces, and that means you are the message right now. How you show up, how you speak, how you move is all communicating something. Make sure it's what you mean to say. And your shadow question is, what would you allow yourself to want if you truly believed you deserved it? Relationships are changing. How we relate is changing. The world is transforming through relationships, and the evolution happening in your relationship right now is the microcosm of what is happening in the macrocosm of the world. It's all about how we can love ourselves better so that we can love each other from a heart-centered space. Pluto in Libra is all about that. See you soon in my next video, and take care of yourselves and each other.